welcome everybody to this session. I hope you've enjoyed the Asian Wetland Symposium so far. It's always a great opportunity, I guess, for everybody to get together. And as everybody's been saying, it's very sad that we can't be together in person. But I think having these opportunities to have a Zoom call is always a really helpful way of everybody getting together. I would just like to thank the organisers as well for all of your work on this. I know these things are quite hard to organise with so many people all coming together from across Asia and beyond, in fact. So I'm looking forward to this session because I think that one of the things that is really useful for everybody is understanding this idea of art and education and how that can really help us to broaden the number of people that we can reach when we're trying to talk about wetlands. So from my perspective, I am Chris Rostron. I am the chair with Dr. Gombo today. I'm actually based in the UK, but one of the things I work on is a network of wetland centres. And so it's a very important kind of way to reach people, particularly looking at how work on the ground can influence people ranging from tourists to school children to regular visitors. We like to use these wetland centres, I guess, in a way that really helps to give people a hands-on experience of wetlands. And from my time with WWT, where I am based, we have 10 wetland centres across the UK, and from working with our 350 members across the world, I've seen many different ways that people have used art and education activities to really get those messages about wetlands across. So today we have 4 great speakers. And we're really looking forward to what you guys can tell us about what you're doing on the ground, because I think this is the way that we can really share and learn from each other. I have spent some time in various different countries, and Sufan, I spent some time with MCF in Shenzhen a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago. So I've seen some of the good work that you guys are doing on the ground there, which is excellent, and in a very urban area, it offers an opportunity for people to really kind of understand wetlands and to really get their hands wet, as it were. So I've seen a lot of the citizen science stuff that you've done with kids kind of who join you at the site, and I've also seen some of the art installations and ways that you use to engage people at your places. Just going to welcome Dr. Gombo, who's just arrived. Good morning, Dr. Gombo. Let's see if he can hear us today. Dr. Gombo, I know you're on mute, you're probably still connecting, but if you can hear us, then let us know. Okay, so when Dr. Gombo joins, he can have some input to this as well. So thinking about the other people that we have promoting their projects today, we have Kate today as well, who's looking at how she's been using art, particularly working around shorebirds, and looking at the project she's working on, mapping sanctuary, which I'm looking forward to hearing more about. And we're going also to Japan, so we'll be looking at a project which is going on in Nago City in Okinawa, again visualizing the value of coastal lives through treasure hunting. I love this idea of adding some element of fun to how you kind of explore what wetlands are and exactly how they kind of influence people's lives and people's culture, because I think that's something that really engages people and really helps people to understand how wetlands are relevant to them. So we will be looking at that in a little more detail soon with Mariko Abe. Dr. Gombo, do you hear us? Just checking. Dr. Gombo will join us soon. We're also going to hear from Taketo Hitamoto, looking at the Kunatori Kodomo meeting. This, I think, really outlines exactly the issues that we're facing today in terms of what we're looking at for the impacts of COVID. So we've done a lot ourselves, really looking at how we can use virtual means, how we can use digital technology to connect people. We've done quite a lot of work working with schools, for example, where we encourage them to visit their wetlands, and then they join each other on a conference call, and they can really talk about what they've been doing for wetlands, and look at how the things that join them up across the flyway, in this case we're looking at stalks, how those can kind of connect people, how those can make people understand why, you know, these flyways, these wetland sites are so important. So Dr. Gombo, I don't know whether you can hear us yet. Maybe having some connection problems. Some housekeeping rules then. Thank you very much for putting those up. For the presenters here today, we're looking forward to hearing you, but definitely not while other people are speaking. So if you're not presenting, then please do mute yourselves. I guess you all know that. And remember to unmute yourselves. Very important part there. If anyone wants to ask questions, there is the chat box. Again, please leave your questions whenever you like. It's always really helpful. Even if you think it's a very silly question, then please ask it. We like to have that engagement. We like to have people talking to each other. And today, as I said, we have Kate Orange-Smith, we have Mariko Abe, we have Sufan Hu, and we have Taketo Kitamoto. So we are really looking forward to hearing from everybody today. I'm not sure, Dr. Gombe, if you wish to say anything before we start. I'll take that as a no. That's good. So let's kick off and hear the interesting bits. I think you've heard enough from me. So Kate, I don't know if you would like to take the floor, introduce yourself and tell us all about your project.
Okay.
Perfect. Yes, the floor is yours.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Chris. To introduce myself, I'm an artist, but I used to work for BirdLife Australia as a scientific editor. And today I'm speaking from my home in Melbourne, in Victoria, in the southeast of Australia. I think everybody lands are under threat globally, and they're also underappreciated. The challenge of engagement, whether you're trying to save wetlands or anything else, is to actually make people care. Disseminating knowledge isn't enough. If you are trying to build ownership of an issue and change people's behaviour, you have to build a deeper connection than just awareness. To save our wetlands, we need everyone to learn about them, but not just to learn about them, to care about them. And this shows so how can art help? Different people respond to different kinds of information. To address these challenges, we need to use as many. Artists provide a complement to more established approaches to scientific investigation, focusing on an aspect that mainstream serious science might consider insignificant, or bringing an alternative social or ethical view, or just a broader cultural perspective to bear on the inquiry. Without the responsibility of needing to find answers, the artist can fulfill a vital role by simply looking at a problem from an innovative angle, or by posing a difficult or unexpected question that might otherwise go unasked. And unlike the scientist, who may be led by institutional or commercial imperatives, not to mention the rigorous assessment of peers, the artist can apply his or her own criteria of success to a study, prioritising such things as creativity, wonder and beauty, and thereby opening up areas of research to entirely new approaches and discoveries. Moreover, art's ability to communicate in imaginative ways brings with it the potential of engaging the public's interest in issues that otherwise might not enter the general consciousness. Over the past decade, I've initiated 3 major art projects to engage artists and audiences with migratory shorebirds and their wetland habitat throughout the East Asian Australasian Flyway, and I found art to be an effective and lasting way to engage communities with migratory shorebirds and their habitat. In 2017, I launched my current project, the Overwintering Project Mapping Sanctuary, which aims to engage artists with their local migratory shorebird habitat. Like the birds themselves, the wetland habitat is often overlooked and undervalued. Wetlands are often seen as empty wasteland waiting for development, or conversely, a desirable site awaiting exploitation. The project engages artists by asking them to find out where their local migratory shorebird habitat is and to make an artwork about whatever interests them the most about that unique wetland. It could be a bird, the landscape, another kind of animal, whatever they find interesting. The idea is to make them realise that shorebirds rely on that wetland and that the wetland is a complex system on which many plants and animals depend. The other means of engagement is the hope that by visiting and learning more about their own local wetland, they will create a connection with that site. I want people to extend their idea of home to include this newly discovered habitat so that they accept a stewardship role. I also encourage artists to visit their wetlands with an expert who can really explain what makes the site so special. I know that not all wetlands are habitat for migratory shorebirds, but they are just an example of a species that is very engaging and has an inspiring story. In my projects, shorebirds provide the doorway to engaging artists with their local wetlands, but your wetland is bound to have a similar species with an equally engaging story. I'm going to use the most recent exhibition in the ongoing overwintering project as a case study to illustrate ways I've found to engage people with their local wetlands. The project's name comes from the fact that Australia and New Zealand provide critical non-breeding habitat for migratory shorebirds. And I use overwintering as a synonym for non-breeding. Because the thing is that you cannot save the birds without saving their habitat. This most recent exhibition focused on the internationally significant wetland called Western Port. About an hour southeast from where I live is Western Port, one of two large bays in the Victorian coastline. Western Port, the traditional lands of the Bunyurong people, is a shallow bay, so shallow that almost 40% of it is exposed at low tide, with the water draining into Bass Strait only to be refilled at the next high tide. This unique hydrology and geography results in the diverse range of habitat found around Western Port, from salt marshes and mangroves at the water's edge, across intertidal mudflats, to seagrass meadows and ancient reefs. These habitats in turn support a myriad of species, from invertebrates and fish to birds and mammals. Western Port is a biodiversity hotspot, and this is recognised by its designation as a Ramsar site, a key BirdLife Key biodiversity area, a UNESCO biosphere, and an East Asian Australasian Flyway Network site. This year I organised an overwintering project exhibition at a local regional art gallery that would focus on Western Port with a view to engaging the local community through the artworks and programs that would be part of the exhibition with this amazing wetland. In this instance, we were creating works to be shown at a local art gallery. But you do not need professional artists or a gallery to create a meaningful, engaging art event. All you need is a group of people, an idea of what kind of work might be made, or performance, or song, or sculpture, and somewhere to gather the resulting work or works, which could be outdoors in a park, or on the shores of your wetland, or in a community building like a school, library, or church hall, or even a private home. You may want to invite an audience, but sometimes the creation of the thing, the art or event, celebration or ritual, is an end in itself, a way to bring the community together, to create a bond between them as individuals and between that community and their wetland. But back to my artists, they didn't disappoint me. They researched the Western Port environment and they made beautiful works specifically about Western Port. Here is stills from a 3-channel video work by artist Ria Dennis, and hers were about the tide, which is such an important characteristic of Western Port. Heather Hesterman, who also studies horticulture, made an installation of the plants of Western Port and other Ramsar sites along the East Asian Australasian Flyway. Beverly Meldrum created an installation making treasures of the items left by the tide. Jan Parker investigated the relationship between mangroves and wildlife. Dominic White, he chose the hooded plover, which is our most endangered resident shorebird, to create work about. And I focused on the eastern curlew, the most endangered migratory shorebird that we have in Australia. I also included in the exhibition scientific data, maps of the eastern curlew's migrations And there was an animation by German scientist Simon Lisowski of some curlew sandpipers' individual migrations from Western Port to Siberia and back, using information retrieved from geolocators. Together, the works created a rich experience telling stories of many different aspects of the bay, an artistic ecology to mirror the wetland ecology. Alongside it was the Overwintering Project print portfolio, the core of the project. This set of original prints have been contributed in response to an ongoing call out that will last for the duration of the project. So for each exhibition, there are more prints. Artists donate 2 prints, 28 by 28 centimetres each, made in response to their own local habitat, one to sell and one to exhibit. And here you can see 305 prints from artists all around Australia and 2 from New Zealand. And they're lino cuts and etchings and woodcuts and every kind of print. Coinciding with the Western Port exhibition, we ran sister projects that were community-based. A nearby community gallery hosted the Wall of Wings, an open call exhibition with an international call out and no age limit, initiated by New South Wales artist Penelope Laurie. Sorry, I didn't know there'd be sound. We had an exhibition of The Flock, an all-ages art initiative begun in New Zealand that has been taken up all across Australia and New Zealand to create bright installations wherever one wants to draw attention to migratory shorebirds and their habitat. We also had the launch of this year's drawing competition for primary age children, which is between 5 and 12 years old, run in partnership with the Overwintering Project by ANSTO, which is one of the Australian Commonwealth scientific bodies. In and from the gallery, we also had wetland walks, story sessions, art workshops, music performances, activities for children, talks, tours, because galleries are active spaces that can be used in whatever way is best to engage as broad an audience as possible. This is my diagram of the ripples of influence. When you involve artists, if they take on the project, they will engage themselves with it. That is the only way that they can actually create good art for it. They might go on to other projects, but while they're working on yours, odds are that they will tell their friends, family, and colleagues about it. In addition, once the works are in the gallery, they will also engage audience members and all those involved in the gallery's public programs. Scientists are the knowledge keepers, but they can pass their knowledge on to others, making them knowledge keepers. What you want is to empower people to engage others, to spread the love, as you say. So does this work? I launched the Overwintering Project in 2017. It's designed to be very organic in nature. Anyone of any age living anywhere in Australia and New Zealand can create an Overwintering Project exhibition or event. The only condition is that participants must visit their local wetland habitat and make their works in response to it. Engagement with their own wetland is mandatory. The structure of the project aims to empower artists or community members to be knowledge keepers, to be experts on their own wetlands who can inform others or organise their own exhibitions. Expert-led site visits and gallery events are all aimed at broadening the number of engaged people willing to do their bit to raise awareness for the importance of shorebirds and their wetland habitat. Hundreds of artists have now made prints in response to their own wetlands, some to join the core of the project, the Overwintering Project print portfolio, and others to exhibit in their own exhibitions. So far, there have been 31 Overwintering Project exhibitions. The last one opened on July the 5th, but only 9 of these have actually been organised by me. The other 22 have been organised by artists excited about the project. And through the sale of prints donated by artists, we've also raised $37,000 Australian dollars to donate to the Australasian Wader Studies Group for Migratory Shorebird Conservation and Research. While artists and communities initiate their own local exhibitions, holding them under the umbrella name of the Overwintering Project holding them under the umbrella name of the Overwintering Project creates a sense of community acting together and provides the project with momentum and a group sense of achievement. I think many people suffer from despair about how to help the environment and so jump at the chance to participate, just as others volunteer readily for citizen science projects. So while it is hard to say in concrete terms how effective the project has been, I have no measures, for instance, of long-term behavioural changes in people. I do have hard evidence, such as the number of exhibitions that have been held, the number of artists involved and visitors to galleries, and the amount of money raised for shorebird conservation. I also have testaments from artists themselves describing what the project has meant to them. Some of the artists have taken shorebirds and their local habitat to heart, sending me multiple prints year after year or organising one or more exhibitions themselves. The ANSTO competition began, for instance, because an artist in one of the exhibitions ran a drawing competition for primary schools, which ended up involving 26 local schools. She works for ANSTO, and when they saw the competition's success, they decided to run it annually. Wetlands are a gift, and each one is unique. As knowledge keepers, scientists need to share the stories of wetlands with others who can help create a community of caring. Art and artists can help you. Thank you. That's the end.
Thank you very much, Kate. That was absolutely fascinating and some beautiful images there. I have to say that your artists are very gifted people. So really nice to see some of that there. I don't know, somewhere whether we have some time for questions now. I see a question already in the chat box, which is great. So Kate, I don't know if you see the question, I can read it out for you. It's from Weita Fan. Dear Kate, how are the public responses to the scientific reports represented by the artists? Are they good for integrating sound science?
Absolutely. Yes, I think with migratory shorebirds, the story is so complex that people are really, really hungry to hear the science behind how they travel, and I think the same with the wetland, why it's important, the number of species that depend on it, what's unique about it, like why that's become an important wetland for those birds to come to. All of these things is part of the story, and it makes the story richer for the audience members.
Yeah, definitely. That definitely resonates with the things that I see at our wetland centres as well. Kate, I was interested in the fact that you're engaging scientists and artists together and having them work jointly on these things. Can you tell me kind of how that interaction worked? What did they learn one from the other? Was there any surprises coming out of that relationship?
It's been quite it's been a long road in a way to get the organisation BirdLife Australia to realise the potential artists have. But I tell you, the connection between the actual scientists and the artists face to face at the wetlands is immediate, because like I find scientists study what they study because they're passionate about their subject, and when you're passionate about something, what you crave is an audience that would like to listen to you, and the artists are such good listeners. And then I think the scientists get very excited to see then the result of what the artists have learned and how their knowledge is then presented in a completely different way. So I think both ways it's a journey of sort of surprise and excitement.
Yeah, because I guess they're coming at it from such different angles, aren't they? And it takes a little bit of trust, maybe, or I don't know. It takes a shared enthusiasm for things, doesn't it, to understand where you're coming from sometimes.
Absolutely. And I think it's been really rewarding for both sides. And I think it's really important for both sides to realise there's actually no divide between science and art. It's all about communication.
Definitely, yeah. I think they complement each other perfectly. It's if we're really trying to get these messages across to a diverse audience, you have to use every tool at your disposal, don't you? I think
that's exactly right. Yeah.
Very complementary ones. The final question that I had then was, you mentioned that it's hard to say how effective it's been in changing behaviour or changing how people think about things, and that's always a bit that we struggle with. I think even with wetland centres, it's hard to tell if people are going to go away and change what they do or take action. So do you have any kind of plans for how you might monitor that or evaluate it, or is there kind of like what's the word, just stories you hear on the ground which show that people are changing what they do?
I think I might survey my participants, because I've got all their addresses, and I send them updates and newsletters and things like that, so I could easily contact them all and do a survey, but I just need help from someone who can do that work and analyse it and you know, I think that would be a good way. But people do send me emails, and I think it's like anything, you just keep doing it and you keep your fingers crossed.
Definitely, I agree. I think there are, I mean, that's one of the things I think that if you share it with the community of people that are on the conference at the moment, you will probably get some useful feedback on that, because I think we all face those similar challenges, don't we? So finding inventive ways or easy ways of understanding what people are likely to do after they've experienced it is really useful. And you don't want to make it too hard, do you? You don't want to make it too difficult for people or ruin the enjoyment of it. But I think finding a way that you can understand how they'll change their behavior and take action is great to show exactly how effective you are, bring more people on board and seek funding and all the rest of it. So,
Yes.
so that's good to see. We have a comment here as well from Aprianto. So identification of the specific role that arts can play in conservation. Conservation problems require creative solutions. True. Accessing multiple ways of knowing and caring about the world should help us to conserve it. This idea seems to fit with people who live in the city. Do you have advice regarding how to attract Indigenous people through art? Which I think is a very relevant question.
That is an excellent question, and it's one that I've been trying to address throughout the project, but I haven't yet found a way. I think in Australia particularly, a lot of Indigenous art centres are bombarded with requests to join art projects, and it's a matter of waiting long enough to make some personal connections. And of course, you know, you want people who already have a traditional connection to the birds and to the wetlands. I'm just playing the long game, and I do hope that I will find Indigenous artists who would like to be involved in the project. But it's also, I think, a very sensitive area in we as project organisers, you don't want to take advantage of their knowledge or use it in an inappropriate way. So it's just walking carefully and treading lightly and leaving the project as open as possible in the hope that Indigenous artists might come and be involved. I have Beverly and Dominic, who were part of the Western Port exhibition, were both Indigenous artists, so I have personal connections with them. But like I say, I think it's a slow and sensitive process.
Yeah, totally agree, Kate. I don't think that's something that you can rush or go in too heavy-handed. So I think, you know, making it open and inviting people and making yourself available is probably the best way to do that, isn't it? Songbo, should we move to the next speaker? And I don't know whether Dr. Gombo, whether you can hear us?
Yeah, I think Dr. Gombo is online with us. Dr. Gombo?
Sorry for light. The reason for that, there's certainly the electricity cut out here for some reason. So anyway, actually very good presentation. I'd like to ask one question, but I will ask later because the time is now run 5 minutes after. So I'm happy to move the second presentation. Thank you.
Great. So Mariko Abe, do you like to share your screen? And it's over to you.
So my name is Mariko Abe. I work for the Nature Conservation Society of Japan. I would like to give presentation on visualizing the value of coastal lives by the treasure hunting events in the east coast of Nago City, Okinawa, Japan. And the Nature Conservation Society, NACSJ, is a national NGO with more than 25,000 supporters. NACSJ have been working on coral reef conservation at the east coast of Nago City, Okinawa, for more than 20 years. Coral reefs develop only in southern part of Japan, like you can see in temperate area. Northern area of Japan, we don't have coral reefs, so we have only coral reefs in Okinawa and southern part of Kagoshima Prefecture. The east coast of Nago City is like the area located in the coastal area of coastal coral reefs, and two rivers, Ora River and Tama River, flow into the Ora Bay. The Ora River is designated as Ramsar candidate sites. There are 10 districts in the east coast of Nago City. Nago City, as I'm showing the map, Nago City located in the northern part of Okinawa Island and spreading for east and west part, but today's talk is about east part of Nago City. The east coast of Nago City is known to be biodiversity-rich coastal area, having rich coral reef ecosystem, mangrove forests and coral reefs, and seagrass beds. Sandy areas, muddy areas are expanding, and the Ora River and Tama River convey the nutrition of Yambar Forest. Yambar Forest possibly will be designated as World Natural Heritage Area in the near future. And many endangered species and important species are known to live here. Like this is the ocean part of this area. You can see that there are lots of ecosystems, different types of coral reefs and seagrass beds are spreading. The objective of the project which I am going to introduce you today is to visualize the value of nature and culture of the area, and it's going to be contribute development of this area, we think, and local people to recognize the value and have proud of their own place. And it leads to the nature and culture conservation of this area. We have been doing 3 activities for this project. One is hearing survey, interview with local people, and we also do literature search. Second one is making map of the places of historical meanings and biodiversity geologically hotspots. And third one, which I'm going to introduce you today, is conducting a treasure hunting event. Treasure hunting events is we do like this. We first, staff and local participants gather at the community center, and we distribute this kind of handouts to the participants and do some kind of explanation, and then we go out and walk several view spots with local people, about 2 hours. And ward mayor or local experts give explanation at each point. And gradually local people start giving additional explanations or memories at viewpoints. And then after the field session, we go back to the community center and have discussion and talking about their memories at the places. And then we make a map together, like on this photo showing. So both indoor session and field session are needed. This is the one we did at our district in 2019. There were 24 participants, including 5 kids. 2 participants came from outside of Nagano City, and 3 participants are from other districts of Nagano City. The Owa district treasure hunting is like this. We saw well, ukugi trees, or river mouth tidal floods, and lots of other treasures. Then I would like to move to Sedake district. This Sedake located here. We planned to the indoor session and the field session on the same day we wanted, but due to the typhoon, we did only indoor session on this day. And while preparing this event and during this event, we found out that inogaki is one of the important things for this district. Inogaki means hedge of preventing wild boar damage in the mountain. And damage to the farmland. And we set the other day for treasure front the field doing fields session of treasure hunting. And then we did the field trip for watching inogaki like this. I'd like to a little bit put explanation on inogaki. It means hedges for preventing wild boar damage to farmland, and the picture showing if there is inogaki, you can see that wild boar cannot climb up to the mountain and cannot reach to the farms. And the diameter is like 40 to 70 centimeter. Some weighs more than 5 kilograms. So during interview, the local people of Sedake remembered that there are lots of hedges for preventing wild boar damage in the mountain, and we visited. And surprisingly, they are made of corals. They must have been settled a long time ago. This simulated local people's imagination how people deliver live corals from ocean to the mountain, and this describes how the lives of coastal areas like. So inogaki is made from corals. So looking at the shape, you could see that tabular types of coral. The species is Acropora, are used for inogaki. It must be a long time ago, local people said, because they don't remember, or they can't remember they heard about it. But the coral reefs which have this type of coral is located more than 4 kilometers from here. Therefore, long time ago, someone took lots of corals from the ocean and carried to the top of the mountain, which is 6 meters high. Each coral's diameter is from about 40 to 70 centimeter, and the big one weighs 5 kilograms. So it must have been a very, very hard work to do. Local people realized that their lives really depend on corals and coral reefs. This shows the connectivity of land and sea. They realized that they have a treasure which they can proud of. And according to the literature, inogaki was set sometime between the beginning of 19th century. And then people started thinking that Sedake district have something different from other area. People think they might be able to use this as one of the course of ecotour which they are planning. And I would like to show you other viewpoints of Sedake district. They have wells, farming logs, and place of worships, and beautiful beaches. And this is a kind of grave. And this is when we and local people having discussion for making maps. This is the local newspaper article reporting treasure hunting events. And this is the outcome of the in the map making, and this is now, and this is the old time. So the treasure hunting events visualize the value of nature and culture of the area. The event led local people to recognize the value of local area again, to be proud of their own places, and start finding meaning of introducing their valuable things to tourists and the people outside of the districts. And a big change happened. People in Sedake started to do their own work. At the end of February this year, they put an information board in front of community center, which is the center of the district. This board is a map of the district which shows the location and explanation of their treasures, including the hedges. Since then, many local people, tourists, and people who live outside of the district come and see this. They plan to use the experience into ecotourism in the future. This is World Mayor showing the information board, and this is local newspaper reporting about the Sedake treasure hunting story. And this is the close-up of the Sedake District Information Board, and other information boards were placed as well. This is worship place. This is other type of worship place, and this is a kind of grave. And due to COVID-19 expansion, we had to stop the project and extend the rest of activities later. And I didn't say at the beginning, but this place is the US-based plan is going on by the government of Japan. So it is very heartbreaking thing to happen. The construction work is going on just in front of them every day. And we can't expect the government of Japan to help people and nature living here. And one good thing happened recently. Henoko-Ora coastal waters have designated as Japan's first hope spot in 2019. The area of hope spots cover a wide area of the east coast of Nago City. Its hope spot is selected by the American NGO called Mission Blue, and Dr. Sylvia R. is the head of Mission Blue. So in conclusion, by this project, local people realize the value of their district, and due to COVID-19, we and local people had to stop the activity now. We would like to continue the rest in later. So we haven't really completed this project yet. And because of the US-based issue, human relationships have been divided by big powers always for about these more than 20 years. So all the more, local people need to develop their lives, protect nature, proceed sustainable lives, apart from independent from the base issue, we think. So we hope it could help their lives. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mariko-san. Very good presentation, actually. So, any question? probably I have actually two questions. You mentioned about the wild boar. Is it introduced species or native species? The second question is what kind of the impact from the wild boar? Is wild boar? I think wild boar anyway. On the coastline. So.
But a wild boar is native species.
Okay. Oh.
And the damage is mainly for farmlands.
Right.
So they eat the farm products.
Thank you. Is a big number. What's the population size of the wild boar in your area?
Well, we are not sure. In all times, people say that they have many wild boars in the area, but in recently, the number of wild boar is decreasing.
Very interesting. Everywhere wild boar number is increasing, only in your countries. But because the local people hunt the wild boar, or what's the reasons for decrease?
We can't really.
Okay.
We don't really know. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, at all. Very interesting.
Yeah, thank you very much. Excellent to see, and interesting to see the kind of distinction between a very local activity with people and then the global threats that are coming in. I think that happens all over the world, doesn't it? And finding interesting ways to engage local people and raise their awareness of these issues is good.
Yeah, Chair, actually there is one more question through the chat.
Yep. From Yuki. So, were there any traditional rules to prevent the overuse of corals to make inogaki?
Well, in old time, there were lots of corals. They didn't have to worry about losing corals because all elder fishermen say that they could walk step on corals and they didn't mind breaking it, and coral reef recovered so soon. But recently, due to climate changes and other factors, we are losing coral reefs, so we have to protect reefs. Thank you.
Yeah, I think times have changed since then, haven't they? And people are much more aware of that. So, well, I guess we should pass to the next presentation. So, Sifan Hu from Shenzhen. Sifan, if you'd like to share your screen.
Thanks, Chris, and hello everyone. I'm Sifan. Now, actually, I'm in Guangzhou. I'm a PhD student from Sun Yat-sen University. But I worked with MCF, the Mangrove Wetland Conservation Foundation, before. So today, it's also my honor to be half of MCF to give this talk to share the educational program we did before in Shenzhen city of China. And so, firstly, the Shenzhen city is a large city and urban city, but it's also a coastal city in south of China. So in this talk today, I will go through these three main parts. Firstly, it's about the localization of the course into Shenzhen city. So there is a wide used North American course about the water resources called Project Wet. It involves the contents on the oceans, the fresh water, and the daily use. In this part, I will briefly introduce some key principles of the localization we did, but I will not go into details for this part. So after the localization, MCF did a training course to the school cities. And then we cooperated with the teachers from the middle school, then integrated the course into the school curriculum. So after that, we conduct the course to the school students. So the last part is for the evaluation work we did to see what the course outcomes we get. So firstly, it's about the localization. So why we need to do the localization first? I think the previous two talks also mentioned this part before. We know that the place is playing a crucial role in connecting individuals and the environmental issues. So the place-based communication or the strategies could reduce the psychological distance between the environmental issues and the individual by render the abstract concrete for helping individuals to understand the issue, especially some global environmental issues. Also, the local experience is seen as important for motivating the interest. Also, it is said that the things of the place could promote individual pro-environmental behavior. Therefore, the localization of the contents is important, and it's kind of the fundamental part of the whole project. So for the localization we did actually includes the two main parts. One is from the content side. Besides the contents of the project WET itself, we added the elements of the Shenzhen city into it to link the water and the local place, such as the water and the local biodiversity and the related ecosystem, or the water management in this city. The other side is from the physical course venue side. So besides the traditional ways, the school indoors learning, we selected two local city parks where is MCF in Environmental Education Centers as the outdoor learning place. So they are Honghu Park and another one is Shenzhen Bay Park, this one. So after the localization, we started to think what we need to integrate exactly. Although the course is a separate one from the existing course in schools, it also needs to contribute to the whole educational purpose of the school, which is these three dimensions, that knowledge and skills, methods and process, emotions, attitudes, and values. This is the three main dimensions the course goes in China educational system. So meanwhile, our course is also the environmental education course. So it's also involved the 5 key dimensions of the environmental education. So actually we need to integrate those objectives of environmental education and the school curriculum requirements. So for this, we cooperated with the teachers from Shenzhen Middle School to do the core designed course with specific objectives. Then we try to make those course objectives match with both environmental education and school curriculum objectives. After that, based on these requirements, and also based on the integration we did, we designed and conducted the course in Shenzhen Middle School for semester course. So it's almost 5 months, and there is a 1 hour course per week, and it's on grade 7 students for one class. And also the course involved experiential and project-based learning, and also it includes both indoors learning and outdoors learning. With the course, we also did the evaluation work for the outcomes, and also to better understand whether our course work and how it works. So considering the number of participants, the evaluation methods are all qualitative. It includes the semi-structured interview. We ask the students to record the whole program after the semester to see what's the most impressive part and there any thoughts about it. So for any points they figured out, we will follow up the question to understand the reasons and any pathway. And each interview costs about 20 minutes to 30 minutes. And also we ask students to do the concept map, mainly to see how they will construct the information based on their understanding after the whole program. And also we ask students to do the same sketching, kind of quick drawing before and after the course, mainly for knowing their connection to the city water. So to better understand the whole process from multiple perspectives, we also did an interview to the participated teachers and the facilitators from MCF. So what we learned from this part, the outcomes, what we gain. About the concept map, the same words in the middle is just the name of the course. We found that besides knowing the knowledge, students actually could construct that knowledge systematically based on their understanding. For the drawing, the pre and the post topic is the same, which is the water in Shenzhen and I. We found that after the course, besides the views of the water and the daily use of the water, students draw more about the activities they participated with the water in the city, such as the nature observation, and even about the water management of the city, which is more for the thinking on the sustainable use. So for the interview part, totally 21 students involved. We did according to their response. Here, the color bar just shows the frequency of the people, that how many students mentioned. For the knowledge part, most students reported they gain many knowledge about the water. It includes like water itself, water and the biodiversity, or the water-related ecosystem in this city, such as the mangrove forest and wetland. And for skills, around half of students mentioned they got the skills of nature observation. So this is the first dimension. then next, when we ask that how they learned this knowledge, they emphasize the experience learning, outdoors learning, and the nature experience makes them impressive. And during the process, most students mentioned they have shared with others about the things they learned or they experienced. And more than half students mentioned that they saw the course as interdisciplinary and they already have got the benefits from this interdisciplinary into their other subjects in schools. And on the perception side, the outcomes are more diverse. On the perceptions, consistently, students reported that the course stimulated their interest on water. And feel enjoyable it. Also, they feel more connected with Shenzhen city and think the water is important more concretely. So before, maybe they said that they know they need to protect water and know water is important, but it's just like a slogan to them. But after the course, after they have the experience with the water, they have more concrete ideas to why we need to do this. And also they feel that needed to participate into the related action. And when we interviewed teachers and facilitators, we found they slightly underestimated the outcomes of subjective perceptions that our course could achieve. They are focused more on the knowledge and student compensity part, but underestimated the attitudes or value part. But need to clarify here that those are just the qualitative results. So it also could because that our teachers or facilitators have higher standard or requirements or expectation for the course. But this reminds us that in the future program, our practitioners need to concern more about those dimensions. So in summary, today I share is a specific and a practical program based on some theoretical research. And so here are some keynotes that we learned from this program. Hope our sharing or reflecting would be useful for related works in the future. The first thing is we show that content localization is a key fundamental component of the success of those environment-related courses. And secondly, integration environment education into school curriculum is possible and it is practicable. Meanwhile, we also think that it would be much better if we could cooperate with school teachers to do the core design program at the beginning. And also using the experiential and project-based learning as a main result could impress participate a lot and lead to many positive outcomes. And also involve both indoors and outdoors learning is important. They could be complementary for each other for the mutual benefit on outcomes. So the program I shared above is actually just our first step on integration. Based on understanding whether it works and how it works, MCF worked with educational department and school teachers further to produce an environment education practitioners booklet on wetland education. It's to integrate environmental education of wetland into school curriculum. And this time it's not just a separate course, it's actually into their existing subjects such as biology and geography. So the future work is trying to scale up this program into more schools, and also we may conduct the large-scale evaluation, maybe with mixed methods that we could do both qualitative and quantitative methods to have more robust results. And last is this program is of course a teamwork. So many thanks to the colleagues from MCF, and also many thanks to the teacher from Shenzhen Middle School. Also thanks for your listening. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Very good presentation, Stefan.
Thanks.
Well, there are a couple of questions. The first question, can you see it, Stefan?
Yeah, I'm just checking it.
Okay, the first question, did you have any challenges to combine or collaborate your program in school? Actually, quite similar question from my end as well, because it's pretty difficult to include our content into the governmental regulated education system. So that's the question.
Yeah, so I think for my work on environmental education before, I also think it's a challenge and it's the most difficult part. But for this program, we are so lucky. Firstly, that the local government actually is supported to those directions that try to, motivate students or from other side, not just from the school learning. So it's kind of combine both indoors and outdoors learning, or formal or non-formal education. And meanwhile, as I mentioned before, that the core design program is very important for this, that we cooperated with the teachers from middle school, from the school. So I think MCF did a good job at the beginning, because after they localized the course, they conduct the training to the teachers first, and to get the teachers' feedback and to see any interest from the teacher. So sometimes the teacher will have the willingness to cooperate and willingness to integrate this course into their schools. So at the beginning, it's very important to start the core design program. But yes, it's still a challenge work.
Yeah. Actually, second question was, I think you answered, because the school, the grade was from 1 to 12, right? So the Kate asked the question, two questions actually. Can you say, Stefan, the questions?
Yeah, from the Kate, you mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh yeah, the game-based learning. So so the things like when you need to know the freshwater resources in the whole world, it's more like the role playing. So ask if each student to playing the, like one is playing the ocean, another one playing the river. So it's kind of the role playing games, and also other games like the kind of team games, the teamwork, you need to give the task to a team, and they have the kind of the like they need to win to the first one. Then they need to think of how they can how they can get the scores. Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you,
Yes,
Sufan. Yeah,
Thanks.
that was excellent, very comprehensive, and great to see how you're delivering that program in Shenzhen. Yes, it's a shame we don't have more time, but we are due to finish in 20 minutes-ish. So maybe we could pass to Kitamoto-san. Kitamoto, would you like to share your screen?
Okay. Thank you, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Keiro Kitamoto, Ramsar Center Japan Secretary General, and I want to today introduce about the Wetland and Environmental Education Program, Konotori Kodomo Meeting. And this is about my details of my presentation. And today I want to talk about the Stork Kodomo Meeting. And the Kodomo means children in Japanese. So this program is the Children's Education Meeting. And we held the online event that brings together children from stork's habitat in Japan. And it was held in Toyoka City in Japan. I will introduce the place after. And 45 children from 5 regions of the country participated. And the children discussed about what is necessary for the co-instincts of storks and people. And this is about the Toyoka City. And Toyoka City is located in the Hyogo Prefecture. And over here, the south part of the Japan is the Okinawa Prefecture, where Abe-san was. And over here is Tokyo, where I am right now. And so the Hyogo is about the middle east of the Japan, whole Japan. And in the Hyogo, it's the northern part where the Toyoka City is located. And this introducing about the Toyoka City. The Toyoka City is 80% is surrounded by nature with the Maruyama River floating through the center of the cultivating. And there's a beautiful landscape and rich environment. And the picture in the middle over here. And the middle part, there's a big river. This is the Maruyama River. And the famous thing, local industry and tourism in the Toyoka City is, first, this is a Izushi ware, and the handbag making and the hot spring of the Kinosaki is a very famous thing in the Toyoka City. And there's so much more rice paddies in the city, in the Toyoka City. And also, Toyoka City is famous area, which the Oriental white stork last lived in Japan. And so there was many Oriental white stork in Japan that used to live in Japan, but in the hunting and the warfare, the number of the stork decreased, and it wild extinct once in 1971. But the breeding of protected individuals, the acting for particularly in protecting storks in Japan, the white storks of the white release of the stork took place in 2005. And in 2012, the lower Maruyama River and the surrounding rice paddies was registered as the Ramsar wetland. And this is the Oriental white stork. Yeah, same as the stork. And the Japanese name of the Oriental white stork is called Konotori. So we named the event as the Konotori Kodomo Meeting. And as I said, this bird returned to the wild by Toyoka City in 2005. And once it's extinct in wild, but the number of storks has increased in about 2,200 birds in Japan right now. But the number of the areas where the stork now lives is now still limited right now. And the breeding place is also limited in Japan. And what we wanted to do is to encourage the children in the area where the oriental white stork's habitats. And to children, we wanted the children to think about what is necessary for the co-instinct of storks and the people. So the children wanted, So the best thing to the children to think about what is necessary for the co-instincts of storks as people. The best way to do is that to invite the children to the Toyooka City and see the nature and the place. But the COVID-19 disease has a big impact for the society, and they couldn't go to the place directly. So there was a great loss for the field education, environmental education program. And that is equal that there was a great loss for the SEPA education activities for the wetlands. So the Toyooka City had announcement to the Ramsar Center, and we discussed about how we can educate the children where the stork habitats. And we decided to hold the Kodomo meeting by online using this Zoom. And we will show about our Ramsar Center Japan and about the children meeting, Kodomo meeting. The Ramsar Center Japan held the Kodomo meeting several times. And what's Kodomo meeting is, it is a event for the environmental education program for children to experience and interact with Ramsar conventional wetlands, reservated wetlands. And so there's many Ramsar wetlands in Japan, and we invited the children to one wetlands and the children, and we showed the good place and what is the why did the place was registered as the Ramsar wetlands. And we also exchanged the children from overseas. So many Asia, like China and Korea, children came to Japan and also see these wetlands. And the program has held 37 times, and more than 3,700 children participated, and 20 wetlands in Japan and overseas had participated through 2006 to 2019. And this time's Kodomo Konotori meeting, stork meeting, was held on March 28, 2021. And the Toyooka City was organized the whole meeting. And Toyooka City invited other Japanese organization where storks live to participate in the meeting. And the 45 children from 5 regions, including Toyooka City, participated to this meeting. And this is the place, Toyooka City, the Hyogo Prefecture. And except the Toyooka City, there was Echizen City, Okayama City, Noda City, and Unnan City, all over Japan, where the Konotori, the white stork habitat is. And this is the method of the Konotori Kodomo meeting. And the picture below is the event picture. And there was a facilitators and the technical assistance was assigned to support each region. So there was 5 regions. So there was 5 facilitators and technical assistants in each region to support the children participants. And the meeting was facilitated by the comprehensive facilitators who acted as moderator. And the picture of the left hand over here, the middle man over here, is the facilitator for the whole event. Before this event, the online meeting was held with the facilitators for the participating multiplies. And we checked that the roles of each facilitator, what they do and what they show, and the time schedules. And sorry, and the method of the Kodo meeting. And this is a picture of the broadcast. We broadcasted the scenes in Toyoka cities for the to the children to show what is in the Toyoka city, and broadcasted from the various locations in the Toyoka city using by Zoom. And this is using by the kind of smartphone, using iPhones and other things. And we showed the Mariama River and the rice paddies and the people who is doing the conservation things, and interview the people who involved in conservation and the places and the facilitators involved in the conservation. And showing the these kind of various locations, people, we try to show the 6 themes about what is necessary for the coexistence of storks and people. And we presented it to the children. And this 6 things is a theme of what we show to the children. First, the agriculture, and second, the Mariama River, the big river in the Toyoka city. And third, the people who is watching over the storks. And fourth, the heart of the people who thinks of the stork. And 5, the people's efforts. And 6, the history of the protecting the stork. And each participant thought about what theme was most important and made a ranking of these 6 themes and presented it to each other organization's participants using Zoom. And this is the result of the ranking. And there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 teams, and 5 organizations, 7 teams, and where the participant children was many places, the organization, we divided into 2 groups. So each children can talk each other. And the 7 children team made a ranking like this. And this color over here is the ranking you can see over here. And the top is the first, the middle is the second, and the bottom is the third. So we choose 1 important theme as first, and 2 the secondly important themes, and 3 thirdly important themes. And you can see in the picture, the ranking is very similar. There is no same rankings that children thought. And you also know that these 6 themes is all important. And there is definitely no, there isn't have what is the most important correct answer. But the children thought, think about what is important by themselves. And like one team over here couldn't choose the one important thing. So they thought that this too was the most important. And they presented to the other children why they thought this was the most important thing. And this is the conclusion of my presentation. It was first of all, like what's the ranking and like what kind of things we showed to the children. Before that, it was a great pleasure for the participant to be able to come, interact, and meet the children from different regions using Zoom. And as the COVID-19 was a big impact, so many students, children could not go to other places and communicate with other children and go to the other places. So many children said that they was the first time to use the Zoom, and like it was the first time to meet the other regions' people and children. So it was maybe a very good experience for the children for communicate with other regions' children. And the second is the use of the web is conferencing system can provide certain effective learning opportunities locally beyond the various constraints of time, distance, and cost, in addition to going to the site. And I think going to the site is also important, but there's many things that we have to think about, like the cost, money, and the time as distance. So using these kind of Zoom and the web conferencing system, we maybe can go above these kind of time distance costs. But there, we have to think about one thing, that the experiences used in 5 senses, such as like taste, touch, taste, and feel and smell, cannot be obtained without going there. So the children can communicate with other children, so, but they only can see the screen, and they only can chat with using these kind of mics, and they only can hear the voice from this mic, but they can't see the real place, and they can touch the real water, and they can not hear the sound of the water and the humming of the birds. So we have to do something for the children, that they can feel the real places and real nature, even if they don't go to the real place. And the future outlook, this is my, what you say, wish, but it is possible to have the exchange within Japan and connecting Japan with other countries beyond the constraints of time and money. And these kind of global events, we have to think about the time and money for the children to come to the other place. But maybe using these kinds of Zoom and these kind of web conferencing system, we maybe can more do easily these kinds of global events. And secondly, using the automatic translation, we can able to maybe create the opportunities for children to easily interact with each other across language barriers. And maybe using these kind of Google and automatic translation, maybe the children can more easily communicate each other by using the automatic translation, by using the Japanese word, Chinese word, the Korean words, and any other words. And it might be more easily for children to communicate each other. And this kind of event, this time's event, the Konoshiri event, we use the migratory birds across the borders, across over the country. So we made a target for the as the migratory birds. So the migratory birds go all over the country. So there might be the possibilities for the further development for cross-border workshops we will be created. So using one bird, we maybe can involve much more countries, much more places of the children to come in to these kinds of events. And one theme if there was a one theme thing for the children, maybe they can communicate each other with the theme. Even they can speak the English or like the same words. So there was a great deal for the children for communicate to make their events. And thank you for listening. And I was very nervous, so maybe it was a poor presentation. So thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Kitamoto-san. You didn't seem nervous, and it was a very good presentation. Thank you so much for that, and really interesting to see how sometimes with COVID, it throws up some good opportunities to still use technology and connect with people and use, automatic translation things to really help people communicate about their birds. Could we go back to the joint screen?
Chris, can I say one thing?
Sure.
Give me 30 seconds. Very good presentation. Have you heard about the Barring Swallow project in Korea? It's something like that. You can develop this kind of children's activity through the countries in Asia, probably Russia, Korea, China, Mongolia, and Japan. Ukraine will be very good species, and Oriental white stork is very good species. I think Barang Swallow project in South Korea and Taiwan, they're doing really good job for the children. So probably you can think about that.
Thank you very much. As you said, the theme will be very rich, and maybe the crane and maybe the stork, maybe the swallow, and maybe other things like rice paddies and the locations might be the theme for the children to discuss and communicate each other. So maybe the place where it's not Ramsar site can also join to the event. This Kodomo Konotori event, 3 regions was not the Ramsar site. So maybe the place where it's not a Ramsar site can join to the events, and there's maybe the other place like the overseas can also join to the event.
Yeah, it's just a suggestion, you know.
Yes, thank you.
And one more question for you, Kitamoto-san, was how old are the children who participated in the Konotori Kodomo meetings?
Okay, it was about 10 years old, the elementary school children. Yeah, about the 6th grade or 5th or 6th grade. Yeah.
Great, excellent. Thank you very much. Any further questions? Sombo, I didn't see any more. So I guess it just leaves us to thank everybody very much for all of your presentations, which are all very inspiring, all very different, but just excellent to show how you can engage people through different means, how getting people onto sites and experiencing wetlands is so important, and how really finding that thing that connects people to their wetlands is what we're all trying to do, I guess, whether it's looking at how people have used coral reefs in the past to keep wild boar out of their fields, whether it's looking at how you engage local artists, which I think is, you know, such an inspiring thing to be able to do, how you kind of use what the Project WET is a great example of how you use what is a global program, but then you can make it very relevant to local schools wherever you are, and has a very sound approach to both delivery and evaluation, and also this sense of place, how you link it to where people are. And finally, from Kitamoto-san, you know, the idea of linking people up through a species is always extremely effective, and something that really gets people's imaginations going and makes them really want to help to protect the wetlands and to protect the species that rely on them. So we are over time, I'm afraid, and Sombo, I'm sure, is keen to bring this session to an end, but thank you very much, everybody. I don't know whether Dr. Gombo, we chaired this together, whether Dr. Gombo would like to add any final words as well.
Yeah, well, we cover pretty well from art to nature and local to global levels. Thank to all presenters who for the very interesting, informative talks. Lovely works you have done. Congratulations. Ideas and experiences shared by speakers will be very important to understand wetlands itself, and also to initiate and inspire new ideas and experiences to your own country. All these interesting contents by the speakers will be major sources of wetland conservation protection policy in your country, not only your country, but also the other countries in Asia. Supporting and encouraging citizen science, focusing on local people involvement in wetland conservation is a very critical point of all meetings, including this symposium. Please keep your encourage local people, especially children. Please continue your wonderful works in wetland and waterbird conservation in your country, and then learn each other. For organizers, I'm planning to share all the speakers' email in other the contact details and PPT files. It will be very important to all of us.
Yeah, you will share all the information with the abstract book later or the symposium finishes. And when it is available, we will inform all participants as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the rest of the Asia Wetland Symposium. Thank you all. Well done.